Meeting of the County Commissioners to order, and we'll start off by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody will rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could remain standing, we have a moment of silence. We'll just keep the people that lost all their properties and homes out in the California area, keep those people, and the people in North Carolina that's still struggling from the recent hurricane 4 months ago. We'll keep these people in our prayers. Thank you very much. Now, I got one more notice, talking about keeping people in their prayers. Keep the three of us in your prayers today, because if you see us stumbling around up here this morning, we have a new program that our agendas, and we're all struggling here to make sure we get it right. This is our first day using this new program, so if you see us looking like a deer in the headlights, that's why.
And that includes the county attorney as well.
First up, we have, under consent items, we have 8 different consent items. And just for the public, these are things that will be approved all at one time. They've already been discussed, so first of all, we have our regular session minutes dated January the 9th, 2025. We have our liquor minutes dated January the 9th, 2025. We have our public hearing minutes dated January the 9th, 2025. We have a recommendation for appointment to the Commission on Aging. We have the Circuit Court for Kent County, a security project. It's a corrected proposal. Kent School Parent Association is requesting a raffle only to take place on February the 7th, 2025. We have an approval of one additional sewer allocation for a minor subdivision, and another request which has been approved for a half of an additional sewer allocation. So, gentlemen, do we have any questions about any of those? If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve all 8 of the consent items as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Next up, we have a special Class C license request for the Rock Hall Volunteer Fire Company for beer, wine, and liquor. And this is a multiple event license which allows the fire companies, I think, to hold at least 12 events. I think that's what it is. This, due to the fact that this is an alcohol license, it's in need of a public hearing. We will assume that we will allow today to be that public hearing. Anyone that has an issue or wants to make comments for or against this application, please feel free to do so at this time. There being none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the multiple event special Class C per diem liquor license application for the Rock Hall Volunteer Fire Company.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Now we have some special recognitions today. Up first is the National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Is that the one you got, Jim?
Yes.
And Commissioner Price will read that.
This is a proclamation for the National Human Traffic Prevention Month, January 2025. Whereas nearly 25 million children, women, and men are trafficked and deprived of their freedom, human rights, and dignity every year. And whereas human trafficking is a serious problem on the Eastern Shore, where traffickers use violence, threats, deception, and other manipulative tactics to force and coerce young and adult individuals to provide labor and services against their will. And whereas human trafficking is among the fastest growing criminal industries in the world, second only to the drug trafficking, and whereas the state of Maryland has enacted comprehensive anti-human trafficking laws with a focus on criminal prosecution and victim support. And whereas Kent County recognizes the considerable moral and economic harm of human trafficking to our communities, our state, and the nation, and recognizes that bringing a greater awareness to this problem will help victims. And whereas January is Human Trafficking Prevention Month across the nation, which formally recognizes that human trafficking consistently occurs in the United States and emphasizes the need for the public and private sectors to come together to focus on prevention, prosecution, partnerships, and support for survivors. And now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, join in the national movement and proclaim January as National Human Trafficking Prevention Month in Kent County. Signed, the Kent County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Ronald H. Fithian, President, Albert H. Nickerson, Member, and John F. Price, Member.
And I apologize, I didn't ask in the beginning if anyone, then you're the one I'm apologizing. Please come forward.
Thank you very much.
Well,
So-
it was my fault, I should have asked in the beginning if there was going to be anybody here to receive this, but please feel free to sit down and
I just,
tell us a little bit
yes.
about what you're.
So, thank you very much. My name is Susan Alstrom. I am the Human Trafficking Regional Navigator for the Midshore region. And this is my colleague, Maisha Johnson.
Yep, I'm a victim advocate at For All Seasons.
Nice to meet you both.
Yes, so we both work at For All Seasons, which is the behavioral health organization that serves our 5 counties. We work in the Rape Crisis Center, responding to incidents of human trafficking and sexual assault. And as you've noted in the proclamation, human trafficking is a serious problem. It does exist here, and it is something that continues to be of concern because of the way traffickers are accessing people online, accessing our vulnerable populations and taking advantage of them in this way. So we are here again to emphasize that it is a problem, that we have services throughout the counties, and that we actually have an office here in Chestertown, and we're opening a new office in a month or so. And so because human trafficking has no boundaries, anyone can be a victim of trafficking, young, old, rich, poor, black, white, doesn't matter, your color, your preferences, et cetera. And we all have a role to play in recognizing the instances of trafficking, recognizing the signs and responding. It takes a lot of resources. And so there is help, again, from For All Seasons. We do have our 24/7 response lines. You can check out www.wesupportsurvivors.org, and all of the information you need would be there. And you can also always, of course, call 911 in an emergency. And we just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of that. We also, I will be presenting an Introduction to Human Trafficking 101 at Washington College this evening at 6 o'clock, and the public is all invited to come and learn. And we very much appreciate your attention to this issue, because it is very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
She
you.
said everything, so.
Oh, I did, I'm sorry.
No, you're
Maisha, what would
good.
you like-
No.
Well, I would like to say that this is a national problem.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
In my previous life career, I was very much familiar with what's going on here, just on the Eastern Shore.
Yes.
So we're very, very thankful for all the hard work that you do, and I know it's making a difference.
Yes, and you make the point, we are actually a kind of a hotspot here in Maryland because of our proximity to the international airports, our highway systems that run in the East Coast, our large disparity of wealth and poverty, and there are many other factors that really do are seasonal work, people come, people are vulnerable. And so, again, we are very grateful for your attention to this issue because, again, we all need to be aware and to work together to prevent and respond to this problem.
Absolutely.
Very good.
And
Now-
Maisha is a remarkable advocate. We are very fortunate to have the individuals that we do working in this area.
And obviously, we've read the proclamation, but we would, if you would like to have a picture taken and
Love to,
maybe
yes.
get some, a
You
little
want me
bit
to read it
of,
again?
excuse me?
You want me to read it again so we can get it
You
in
don't
the right
have,
order?
you can ask her.
Thank you. That would be great. Thanks so much. Oh, here we go. Scoot in. Oh, yeah. Excellent. You guys are tall enough, that's great. Thank you.
Excellent. One more.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next up, we have a proclamation that's been prepared for National Mentoring Month. Now, so that I don't make the same mistake twice, is there anyone here that is here to receive that? Please come up.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You want to tell us who you are and a
Yes,
little bit
yes.
about what we're here for?
Yes, my name is Caitlin Johnson. I'm the program coordinator for Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Eastern Shore. And so we provide a mentoring service for kids that are facing adversity. So we find generous hearts in the community to volunteer and become what are called Big Brothers and Big Sisters to mentor children who want a mentor. So we're really expanding our program a lot. We've got a great team on board, and so a lot of people. We're actually overfilling our office, so it's definitely growing. We're also looking to expand to Caroline County, and we provide life-changing services. We see the kids, we have events for the kids, and see how much they've grown from when we do what's called intake meetings and how much happier they are. So it's really wonderful.
Well, very good. And nice to have you in today. And there's been a proclamation prepared, and I'll read this one. It says, Kent County, Maryland Proclamation, National Mentoring Month, January 2025. And it reads, whereas at the start of each new year, we observe National Mentoring Month to honor the parents, families, teachers, coaches, and mentors who dedicate their time and love to lifting America's daughters and sons. And whereas nobody succeeds on their own, every young person's strength and resilience are nurtured by those who teach them that they can accomplish anything they set their minds to. Whether it be helping mentees study for a test, learn a new skill, or lift their heads after a setback, mentors give them a chance to move forward and set their sights even higher. Through this process, mentors not only help mentees achieve their goals, but also inspire them to reach back and support others in need of mentorship. And whereas this month we reflect on the transformative role mentorship plays and acknowledge the many ways mentors have helped shape our next generation of leaders and innovators. By working to give each person a better chance at success, we unlock their potential and empower them to serve others in the same way. And whereas, with the support of local businesses, community leaders, and the state of Maryland, Mentor has facilitated mentorship programs that reach youth across Kent County and the state, providing young people with the opportunities they need to succeed. Now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, proclaim January the 2025 as National Mentoring Month in Kent County. signed the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Ronald H. Fithian, President, Albert H. Nickerson, Member, John F. Price, Member, dated January the 28th, 2025. And it's our privilege to present you with this
It
proclamation.
is my privilege to accept.
Would you like to have a picture?
I would love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Now, last but not least, we have a certificate of appreciation for a gentleman that is no stranger to those of us that have been around the county here for a while. Mr. Brian Foreman, you want to come up, Brian? Brian is, not sure.
He may not want to.
Yeah, probably not.
Brian has been one of our county enforcement officers for a number of years, and I'm sure he'll tell us about it, but he's decided that he's had enough of us, and he's going to retire and move on.
Correct.
So, would you like to say a few words for us, Brian?
Sure.
And then we have
A roast. It's a roast.
yeah, it's yeah.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I started working here in March 2006, and it was actually after Isabel hit in 2003. And I lost my home to the flood. And the first thing I did was come to the planning office and said, what can I do? What are my options? I had a foot of water run through my house. And, the office was ready to help me as far as my options. And by 2006, I had rebuilt my home to floodplain standards, and things were going well. And I noticed that there was an advertisement for a code enforcement officer at the planning office. And I had been in construction for years with my father, and we always were good about getting permits. I think it showed the people that you were working for that you did the right thing. And anyway, so I applied for the job. I was awarded the job, and I haven't looked back, to be honest with you. And it's been a learning experience the whole way. I've enjoyed working with contractors, with homeowners, the guys that cut down trees, the guys that do logging. It's hard to explain what a code enforcement officer does for Kent County, because we wear many hats. One of the things that I think has been improved is the work that we do with MDE, with sediment control now, and also the new board that is being created. We used to have an electrical board. Now we're going to have an all-trades board to, similar to what you were talking about with the mentoring thing, that you can't do it on your own. So we get information from other professionals that are out there in the building world to help us understand what needs to be included in permits. So that being said, throughout my career, I've been supported by the commissioners, the attorneys, and the staff of the planning office has been a tight-knit group. I call them my planning family. So that being said, I think I've said enough.
Well, and I think you said it very well, and it's kind of a good news, bad news for us. We're happy to see you move on to whatever you're going to do next in life, but we're certainly sorry to see you go. And Commissioner Nickerson has got something he'd like to read and present to you.
Well, I was supposed to give a brief history about Brian, but you stole that thunder. But I would like to say that as a contractor in Kent County for the last, I'm only 25 years old, so it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, right.
But I would like to reiterate that, working with the planning office and with Brian, I don't think, we're good, right? Okay. But no, seriously, it is a lot of people, as we're doing work in the county, a lot of people think that, it's a hindrance, but it's not. We're honestly, you guys are there to protect, number one, the homeowner, and number two, the neighbors of all of the homeowners, in my opinion. And so I think you do a good job, and believe it or not, because we've all heard this, at least in the planning office and sitting here, that, it's never fast enough. But I can tell you this, that Kent County is a pretty expeditious county to get things done in, believe it or not. So I appreciate not only you, Brian, but everybody else in the planning office as well. So,
Albert, before you read that, I've known Brian for a lot of years. We actually were in the same class back in high school, so we're about the same age. He was a very good wrestler, by the way. I've known Brian and his family for a long time. It's a very nice family. And Brian, being prior law enforcement myself and enforcing the laws of the state of Maryland and so forth, I understand that at times you had a very, very difficult job. But you always did it in a very professional way, and I'd like to personally commend you for all your efforts and hard work and putting up with a lot of grief sometimes because folks just didn't clearly understand. But you did a wonderful job. We're going to miss you, and we wish you nothing but the best in your retirement.
Thanks.
absolutely. Before I read this, I do want to say that Brian is very active. He's a fisherman and a hunter. And he does a lot of volunteer work with the Wounded Warrior Projects, arranging hunting trips for that organization. And I kind of know a little bit about that, and I appreciate all of you doing that. So I feel sorry for the fish and the wildlife in the county. You got a little bit more time now, hopefully. So this is a certificate of appreciation. This is to certify Brian Foreman is hereby recognized for 18 years of service in the Planning, Housing, and Zoning Department. Such commitment and loyalty are admired and well respected by all of those who have had the honor of working with you. We, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, thank you for your continued devotion, dedication, and public service to Kent County and the community. Signed, the County Commissioners of Kent County, Maryland, Ronald H. Fithian, President, Albert H. Nickerson, Member, and John F. Price, Member. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian, if I could get you to scoot, yep, there we go. Thank you very much.
All right, congratulations. Next up, we have Tom, you want to take over? We're going to have a public hearing. We have an alcoholic beverage hearing.
Yes.
Bonnie's here, is she? Bonnie, you want to come up first? Tom, go ahead. I'll let you take over.
Thank you,
with
Mr.
this.
President. We'll proceed as follows. I will read the notice into the record for the public hearing. I have a couple of comments to make. I'll turn it over to the inspector for her report and testimony. Then we'll hear from the applicant, and then after we hear from the applicant, if there's anybody here that wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to the application, they'll have that opportunity. So with respect to the public notice, application has been made by Valerie Ashmore, member, representing Rock Hall Brewing Company, LLC, for a Class D beer, wine, and liquor license on the premises known as Rock Hall Brewing Company, 5781 Main Street, Rock Hall, Maryland, 21661, which shall authorize the holder thereof to keep for sale and to sell beer, wine, and liquor at the place therein described for on-premises consumption or elsewhere. A hearing on the application will be held in the County Commissioners' Hearing Room, R. Clayton Mitchell Jr. Government Center, 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland, on January 28, 2025 at 10 a.m., at which time any exceptions to the application will be heard. This is by order of the Board of License Commissioners for Kent County, Maryland, by Saundra M. Blackiston, Clerk. It was published in the Kent County News on January 9th, 2025, and again on January 16th, 2025. And with respect to this license, the staff and the attorney have reviewed everything, and just a couple of contingencies on here, and the inspector can go into further detail. But the applicant still needs to do the alcohol awareness training. If they completed that,
They have.
They have,
Just
so-
have not got the certificate yet.
so we just need the certificate, and we also need the valid sales and use tax license from the comptroller's
Correct.
office. And with respect to the application itself, I noted this is a single-member LLC,
Yes.
and on the application where it says length of time acquainted with the applicant, some places 1 is checked, someplace 2 is checked, someplace 3 is checked, and someplace 4 is checked. And that was intended on the form to reflect, do you know applicant 1, 2, 3, or 4, if there's more than one applicant. What my belief is that the people that signed as knowing the applicant probably signed it thinking this meant 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, or 4 year knowing the applicant. So we've done this before. We can issue the license, but we would request that, or my recommendation is that we request that the applicant provide clarity, and we can administratively just change this to say 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, whatever the case may be for the sole applicant.
Okay.
So with that, Inspector, what can you tell us about this application?
Tom,
Yes.
because the applicant's here, if they offer testimony to that fact,
That would be sufficient.
that would be sufficient.
And then the clerk can just make a notation on the application.
Sure.
Inspector?
Yes, the applicant has met the requirements for the application to be considered by the board. They have completed the alcohol awareness certification training course. They just have not received their certificate yet. I have been in communication with the instructor and got verification that that Ms. Valerie Ashmore has attended the training. The Kent County Health Department has no objections to the application. A sales and tax use license has been applied for but has not been currently been issued by the Comptroller's Office. The staff recommends that the application be approved contingent upon receiving a valid certificate from an alcohol awareness training course and providing a valid sales and use tax license from the Comptroller's Office. And if I could bring Valerie up and let her speak to what their plans.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you just first state your name and address for the record?
My
please?
name is Valerie Ashmore, 21979 Kellys Park Road, Rock Hall, Maryland, 21661. First, I would like to thank all the support we have from the town of Rock Hall and Kent County. As most of you are aware, we have taken over the old Orrs building. that was pretty much falling in on itself on, our main street, the heart of Rock Hall. And so we just want to appreciate everyone's support and enthusiasm with this project. It's been quite an undertaking for myself and my husband, who's sitting back there. So our initial plans are we have certain phases. The initial plan is Phase 1, just to open the bar area. That's why we're requesting the Class D license. Because it's such an extensive project, we're doing it in phases. So the initial plan is to open the bar area with an open air concept. We'll have windows opening out onto the Main Street area, onto the sidewalk, where we might have some tables sitting out there to serve patrons at the sidewalk as well as inside. And then the back part, we are opening the back up with a accordion door, large accordion door, that would open up to a patio deck area that would extend through the length of the building. The kitchen area will be closed at the moment, and access to the upstairs will be closed at the moment. So initially, Phase 1 is just the bar area. And we are moving forward with those plans at the moment.
Very good.
So you actually, I heard what our county attorney said about the application
Yes,
and the way folks signed, and they've marked 1, 2, 3, or 4.
yes.
Can you tell us?
Yes, the intent was, I've known this person, me, the applicant, for this many years, yeah.
I just wanted to put it on the record. That's
Yeah.
all.
If there's an X by 1, that means that they've known you for 1 year.
Right.
X by 2, 2 years.
Exactly, yes,
Okay.
yes.
If there's no objection from the clerk, we could just have her note the application accordingly.
And I think I can certainly say that I've known you for a year because you come before a board,
Yeah.
the last board, and we sold you a little piece of property down Skinner's Neck,
Yes,
if I'm not
yes.
mistaken. Yeah.
Yes, we own the Grazing Creek Marina and the
Absolutely.
property on Kelly's Park Road, yes.
And I can tell you, you got the Rock Hall Brewing Company as your name, but it's going to be hard to get rid of that old horse.
Oh, I know.
That-
And I know we get a lot of questions. Yes, the boat is staying. Yes,
Yeah.
we're keeping the boat.
And I'm glad to see you tearing that you tore some of the walls out, because I would hate for them to get talking, you know? In my younger age, I tried to spend a day or two in that building.
We've had some people take some bricks when we were taking the front facade down. Bill found a postage stamp from the 1800s. It has like 1908 from when it was a post office. So yeah, it's a lot of history there, a lot of history.
Good
So I'm
luck.
glad we're able, there was, right before we bought the property, the previous owner had a certificate to demo the building. And I'm glad we were able to move forward with restoring it rather than
How about that?
taking it down. Yeah,
Well, it's certainly been a landmark for
yes,
a lot of years.
yes, yes. It's amazing to see how many people stop and have their picture taken under the boot.
How about that? Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of memories for a lot of people. I call it the tail end of that, but I don't want them to be told either. I agree with Ronnie. I thank you all for your investment in Kent County and in Rock Hall.
Yep.
I really do. And preserving that building is a special thing, so we appreciate that. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
I too, in my younger years, maybe had a beer or two in there. But more notably was.
I'm just going to, I'm going to advise the board to exercise your right to remain silent.
I was on my good behavior there. Those walls won't have anything bad to say about me. But I also,
Yeah, I think we'll just remain silent.
I also was there a lot in my professional career,
Making some rest.
keeping the peace.
Yeah. How about
So,
that?
but I think this is a wonderful opportunity for the town of Rock Hall. I think it's a great location. I'm happy to see that you're preserving that part of Main Street, and I'm excited about it.
Thank you.
I do have a question about, at some point, are you going to serve food there, or?
At some point, yes. Yeah. Like I said, it's just been such a large undertaking that we had to scale back a little bit. So focus day one is the bar area, and then phase two be kitchen, phase three upstairs, type of thing.
I'm looking forward to patronizing.
Oh, great, thank you, appreciate it.
For the food part.
Yeah, I don't drink it. All right.
Tom?
So if there's no more questions for the applicant, is there anyone here present that wishes to speak either in favor or in opposition to the application? Let the record reflect there's no response, so unless the applicant has anything else for the board, we can close the public hearing and the board can entertain a motion.
Do you have anything else? Anything
No, I really appreciate everyone's assistance with this. The sales tax, it's in my name and not the business name, so I am working with the Comptroller of Maryland to get it straightened out. But that's the last piece of the puzzle at the moment, so. And again, I just oh my God, everyone here has been tremendous. Great help,
Well, that's certainly good to hear.
yeah.
So your motion would be contingent on obtaining the certificate from the alcohol awareness training and from the comptroller.
Correct.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
And if I could mention that I did go out and inspect the building to see where they are planning to store, sell their alcohol. They showed me where the bar area is going to be. They showed me the area where the storage is going to be for the alcohol, both places, cold storage and then another storage. So it's coming along. I mean, they're in the early stages of renovation, but I can't wait to go back out and see it when you're done with that. Thanks. That's all I have to say.
So the training's been done, the certificates haven't been issued?
Yes, I talked with the the ServSafe instructor, and he stated that she did go through the training. She just has not got the certificate yet.
Any other questions? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing and go back into the open session.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Now, if there's no other questions concerning the application, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the alcohol beverage license application for Rockhall Brewing Company contingent upon obtaining a valid Maryland sales and use tax license.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations and
Thank
good
you.
luck to you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thank you.
Have a good. You're welcome.
Okay.
Looks like me again.
You're up again. Bonnie?
Yes, this is for I completed the FY 2025 second round of tobacco compliance checks. They were completed December 11th and 12th of 2024. During this check, all tobacco establishments complied and did not sell tobacco products to the authorized underage purchaser that I used. The following tobacco establishments did not have a tobacco compliance check done due to a fire at their establishments: Dollar General in Wharton and Molly's Mart in Kennedyville. I also used a mystery shopper for an educational compliance check, which was conducted on November 11th, 12th, and 14th, 2024. All establishments asked the authorized underage purchaser for an ID, except one establishment. I went inside the establishment and spoke with the clerk who did not ask for the ID and the establishment's owner, and reminded them of the Maryland law that anyone who appears to be 30 years old or younger must be asked for an ID. Dollar General Morton was still closed during this check due to a fire on October 9th. I also have issued 2025 age of purchase calendars to the alcohol and tobacco establishments in November and December of 2024. These calendars are essential for retailers to calculate their customers' ages. I have also been in the process of delivering tobacco educational packets to all the tobacco establishments. These packets have under 21 is underage, and the under 21 no tobacco, under 30, and to please have ID ready window clings. These signs are required and comply with the state law. Retailers are required to post the new age of sale signs in their establishments. Each establishment is provided with these signs to ensure compliance with the law. And I think I'm up again.
Keep right on going.
Okay. This is the Riley's Mill Ale Works. During the December 17, 2024 meeting, the commissioners approved a Class D beer, wine, and liquor license for Riley's Mill Ale Works, LLC. David Blake Eason Sr., David Blake Eason Jr., and Randall Neal McLennan, contingent upon the Commissioner's Office receiving a valid trader's business license. On January 2nd, 2025, the applicants provided a copy of a valid trader's business license and paid the prorated fee due to allow the issuance of liquor license number 4912. So they were issued their license because they met their contingency.
Very good.
And that's all for me.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Now, with our first appointment is the ladies, the League of Women Voters, and they have done a study, and I'll let them talk about it. Do you all want to come up front here? Please feel free to do so. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Marion Herb. I'm Secretary of the League of Women Voters of Kent County and co-chair of the Commissioners Study Committee, along with Jackie Adams and
Barb Fluke, Carol Drogue, Sandra Dinoff.
Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you.
We appreciate the opportunity to present to you a summary of our study. The League of Women Voters of Kent County was asked in 2023 to consider the proposal to increase the number of commissioners. The League never takes action on a topic unless we have a position, and we don't have a position without studying the facts and details and coming to a consensus on the topic. So our members directed us to do a study of whether to increase the number of county commissioners from 3 to 5. We completed this study in December. We shared the fact sheet of the study, which you have also been given, with our members. At a meeting of the League in December, we came to a consensus that Kent County should increase the number of county commissioners from 3 to 5. We also reaffirmed our long-held position on district representation and recommended that all commissioners be elected from a district versus at-large, the current method. Within the fact sheet, we noted that as a code home rule county in Maryland, you, the commissioners, you can determine through enactment of local laws the number of commissioners and the method of election. In our study, we compared Kent County to the other 11 least populated counties. We found that though Kent County's budget and citizens served per commissioner are currently within the range of the other 11 counties, there would be advantages to having 5 commissioners. Some of the advantages are that each commissioner would serve on fewer committees, could develop more expertise in the areas served by the committees and in the areas of challenge in the county. Quorum challenges are reduced. This could improve the diversity of the commission, could decrease the possibility of an entire new board in any election cycle, and boards with 5 or more members successfully govern many organizations in Kent County. We also presented some reasons not to make a change. The cost, 1/10% of the county's budget, or approximately $80,000. It would be a significant change of a decades-long election process. There has been no major change in our population. Kent County compares favorably with other Eastern Shore counties in the number of citizens each commissioner serves, and evidence-based studies supporting more or fewer citizens per commissioner is not available. This past fall, we sought to get input from county citizens on the topic. During the months of October and November, the League surveyed 198 adults in Kent County. This represents about 1% of our population. The survey was given to citizens at public functions in the county, League forums, membership meetings. It was accessible online at our website, and information about this survey was also shared with local media. The survey indicates that 76% of the people surveyed favored increasing the number of commissioners from 3 to 5. When the cost was specified, 59% of those surveyed still supported the increase. The survey itself, along with the results for each question and the demographic information about the individuals who completed the survey, is in the appendix. The League recognizes that the survey sample is not a representative cross-section of Kent County. Our support for district representation is further explained in the fact sheet. We proposed districts based on the current precinct structures for your consideration. In closing, the League of Women Voters of Kent County encourage you to consider increasing the number of commissioners from 3 to 5 and to amend the election process to allow for district versus at-large representation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you, I read your report, your 20-page report. It's very, very thorough, very well done. Could you comment on the staggered terms?
The
Do you have-
staggered terms.
do you have-
Yes, yes. The reason it's not in our summary, I would say, is because we don't have a position, an official position on it. It, as we studied, seems to make sense and is better governing that Maryland would allow staggered terms. But as we said, that's a legislative issue and would have to be pursued that way.
Is
And
it Cecil County that has staggered terms?
they,
They're
They
the only
did.
county that has staggered terms, and the Maryland Constitution allows for it. So it's not even an annotated code, but it's the Constitution.
I was kind of interested in that because sitting here now for going on almost 2.5 years, I could see where if you had a complete removal of the current board and you had all new members coming in, that could hinder the governmental operations of the county potentially. Fortunately, it didn't this time because we had Commissioner Fithian here who
Was
kind of
born
had.
here. Was born here. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well,
Right.
I mean, you provided
Right.
some insight to Commissioner Fithian, Commissioner Nicholson and I, that was very, very helpful on what the previous board was working on. So I do see an advantage to that, and That's why I was asking you about that, so.
I tend to agree with John. I mean, what I see is in the example that he gave, that if for some reason all three board members were thrown out or didn't come back, you'd lose some history of what took place in the previous years. And so that's, I can certainly see some advantage to that. But that's all I
No,
have.
yeah, I would agree. I can tell you as a new county commissioner, again, 2.5 years ago, at some of these meetings, they talk about drinking from the fire hose. It's more like drowning from the fire hose because of all of the information and stuff that you have to learn. I too I think that would, moving forward, that would be something that I would certainly be interested in looking at further.
So I'm assuming that this is something that if we all agree about the staggered term initiative at this point, that we should meet with Delegate Jacobs and ask him to put some legislation in to allow that to take place.
Yes.
It also
Well,
would
you
be less.
need an amendment to the state constitution.
Yeah.
So it's a little more
Exactly.
than doing a state code.
Not just a regular bill, House bill or Senate bill.
Well, I think we need to have some more discussion about it, and we certainly appreciate all the information. It's very, very helpful.
Yeah, the report was very good.
Oh, it is.
Very well done.
Thank you.
And you've been working on that for quite some time.
We have
Probably a year plus, maybe.
year and a half.
Yeah, I was going to say a year and a half.
Because if we were going to do staggered terms, we should have an election, we should have had an election last November, so one of us would have,
Now,
so we could have changed it. So every 2 years, there would, one term, there would be two of us up for reelection, and then the 2 years later, it would be one of us up for reelection. I guess that's the way it would work, but,
Right, most, my observation, I don't have any stats, this is just based on my observation, but most municipalities, including the ones in Kent County, seem to have staggered terms, where you have certain council members that are elected
Right.
this election, and the following election would be the other half of the council members.
The state, for some reason, is rather vocal about the fact that they want to keep county elections on the 4-year cycle. So it has been a heavy lift for jurisdictions that have wanted to go to the staggered terms. What happened in Cecil County is the anomaly when they were given approval to do that.
Right, municipal elections aren't state elections. So they're conducted by the municipality there at the expense of the municipality. The elections for county offices are part of the state election where you're voting for governor, school board, Congress, et cetera. So they're a little different animal.
and the only thing that I noticed in the report that, I think when I first started, our population was 20,000 plus. Now we're down to 19.5, so there's been a little bit of a decrease in the population. And I've never, personally, this just, and look, the report makes a lot of sense, and I understand, and I read it as well as my colleagues. I've never been one that thought more was better. If that was the case, our United States Congress would be a well-run machine, and I'm not sure that the approval ratings on it rank too high. So sometimes more, I think, adds some confusion as well as, I understand the overall idea of running in districts so that you get more representation of the county, but anyhow, that doesn't mean that I've got my mind made up one way or the other. I appreciate your report. It was well stated, well done. Obviously, you put a lot of hard work in it, and whether we move forward with that or not, we appreciate the study, and we'll certainly give it some consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and again, thanks again for the report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And who is this, who are we,
Sheriff.
Okay.
Sheriff Hickman?
Sheriff Hickman.
Gentlemen.
And he brought
Morning,
some
Sheriff.
help too. He must have
morning,
thought maybe he
Sheriff.
was gonna need some help because. he
Yeah, I got
drove
back
on his
up,
officer.
just in case. Good to see you again, gentlemen.
Nice seeing you, Sheriff.
So I'm under the appointments line. So the first thing, gentlemen, I have some prepared remarks here. First thing, I'm not asking for additional money from contingency. There, you can breathe easy.
Well, you're off on the right foot.
There you go. All right.
Good start, good start.
And the sheriff's office staff, unlike previous administrations, believe in fiscal responsibility. So the reason I am here is because under the current county purchasing requirements, any asset over $5,000 that has not been approved in the budget needs commissioner approval. So what am I asking to buy? The Kent County IT Department informed me that the current live scan fingerprint machine cannot be upgraded to Windows 11. So the machine is attached to the Kent County network, and without the Windows upgrade, it causes a significant risk to the security and integrity of the Kent County network. April Bitter, Kent County IT Department, researched the replacement of our live scan machine and found the best machine to be the IDEMIA live scan system. April was also able to get pricing from the machine through State of New Jersey contract. The IDEMIA is an HR, is what HR is used for fingerprinting and is what is the detention center used for fingerprinting. This is why they recommend this for uniformity. The current live scan machine is a Windows 7 device and is a security vulnerability. It's more than 7 years old. The sheriff's office can absorb the purchase in the existing budget by adjusting several budget line items. So I'm asking for your approval to purchase a new live scan machine that is a security vulnerability concern for the Kent County network. Now, it works fine. I mean, I don't have any problems with it. It's just old, and I'm told it needs to be replaced.
I have a question for Sergeant Shepard. Do you mind coming forward? The sheriff indicated that the detention center has a live scan machine.
Yes, we do, but our live scan is down, because our live scan is outdated too.
But I mean, you have the right machine that the sheriff is looking for.
I've never seen their machine. I don't know if they've came up and seen ours, but, when I was told by the former, warden that our machine is, well, by the tech that comes in to fix it, like, there was one point he was coming in every month to fix our machine, because we would do our fingerprints and get halfway through, and the machine just shuts down. And he was telling us that we needed a whole brand-new machine. But for us, we didn't understand why we needed to have a fingerprint machine in the first place, because the sheriff's department is right next door.
That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, and that was something that they try to force on a lot of correctional facilities for some unknown reason. We have no idea why they want to do that, and everything is connected. So we don't really need our machine, but it wouldn't do him any good.
Well, I'm just wondering if maybe we, and I don't want to put the county at risk here, but could we get someone to come in and take a look at the machine if you think that's a good idea? Somebody, I don't know what vendor you're using,
No, I'll have to go back and look and check.
to look at the machine to see if, in fact, we could utilize that machine if we can get it up and running. I mean, it's just, from what I understand, it's probably just a software issue, correct? Or
It should be the same as what we're asking to get, the IDEMIA, because that's why they wanted to go with that. The IT says we should go with that because HR has that and the detention center. We had Cogent before, but it's just old and can't be upgraded. It works, it just can't be upgraded.
I know the sheriff has this money in his budget, and he's done a good job with his budget, as well as yourself. But I'm just wondering if the machine's not really being utilized at the detention center, even though you've been told that maybe it's not repairable. Did we, sometimes people tell you that.
Yeah, to get a new machine.
Exactly. And I'm just wondering if we could have a closer look at it to see if it could be utilized and save the county $20-some thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Certainly, looking at every avenue. I've been kind of pushing off IT for a couple months now, trying to figure out an alternative instead of having to buy another machine. But they're really after me to try to get this changed because they're worried about the security of the network. So we got to get it done. But yeah, I mean, if that's certainly an option, we've already had communication with IDEMIA, and we have the vendor, as we can certainly talk to them and see if that's something that can be changed. Now, when I first talked with them, it was Windows 10, and now since even with the couple months that I've been talking with them, kind of putting them off, now it's up to Windows 11. So apparently 10's not any good, so now it has to be 11. So I guess we're into that phase of technology similar to what, even like our iPhones and things like that, where, that's how they're making their money. They're going to constantly make you have to upgrade, and as those upgrades, and then things won't be able to be upgraded, then you have to purchase, so. So I think here, it may be that his particular machine says that it's good for 10, but maybe not 11, but we don't know that.
It almost sounds like it's hardware and software.
Yeah, I know, because we haven't used our machines for, I would say, 4 or 5 months, because we just got tired of paying somebody to come in and fix something that lasts for 3 weeks.
For
And
no
then-
reason, really.
Yes, and it's just a waste of money, so,
And if we determine that that machine it's really not worth it, I think we need to get that offline. I mean, unless there's a need.
no, we don't. I don't feel as though we do.
So what you're doing now in the meantime is you're rolling ink prints.
No, what it is that before maybe the 16 years before I was there, we were doing the ink prints. But then when they went to the live scan, we all argued, like, why are we doing live scan? They're doing live scan 2 hours before they get to our facility. Why are we redoing the same exact prints
Next
again?
door.
Right. It didn't make sense to us. And then the machine started, malfunctioning and everything, so it was like, I don't really see the need for it if we started getting the live scan done.
But sitting here today, you don't know, Sheriff, whether
I don't.
their
And it was certainly
their
willing to look into
machine
it, yeah.
would fill what you need.
Yeah. I mean,
You don't know whether it's up to-
theoretically it should, assuming that it can be fixed.
Yeah,
you know.
it can be upgraded.
That theoretically, then that would be great. But I guess, in lieu of that not working, then I would still need to get a new machine because IT says it's a security risk.
So based on this conversation, I would recommend that we explore avenues, but if no avenue is a sustainable, long-term
That's what I was gonna
solution, then go ahead and approve this, if it needs to happen, if we
That was
get
gonna be
there.
my suggestion too.
Sure.
I feel like we're gonna approve what your request is contingent on, and then leave it up to you whether you can use his, and if you find out, then you won't have to come back and talk to us. You go
Right.
ahead and order
Yeah.
your own. Is that what we're all on the?
Yeah, that's where I was going with it.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other thing is, I know it's a security risk for the county right now. Thank you, Roland. For the county, but I know Chestertown PD does not have a live scan, or they didn't. Is it possible we could offer the one that you currently have to them and let them decide whether they want to take the risk or not?
Well, it's a county asset, so, I mean, it's not necessarily a sheriff's office asset, so, I mean, if that's something they wish to negotiate with them, I could certainly be a part of it, but,
I think
You
we
know.
have in the past, we've given equipment to the municipalities, and
yeah.
I know that they have wanted one for a long time, and they may not now, but I'd like to see us, the county, offer that to them.
Yeah, I mean, and that would lighten the load a little bit on us as well, because currently, only having the only electronic fingerprint machine in the county, when the municipalities make an arrest and there's a conviction, they then have court order fingerprinting, have to come back to our office, and then we have to arrange and get that done, so. As opposed to them being able to do it at the intake of their arrest.
We can explore disposition options.
All right, so I'd like, any other
No more
questions?
questions? Entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we ask the sheriff to investigate whether the current live scan machine at the detention center will fulfill his needs, and if not, that we authorize him or approve the budget adjustments that he's asked for to replace the live scan machine. And county should, when they remove that live scan machine, the current one, they should offer it to the Chestertown Police Department, if in fact they want it.
Okay.
Got a motion, do I have a
Are you
second?
good with that?
Yes, sir. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you much.
Now, our Deputy Director, Carrie, you got 3 items on the agenda today?
I do.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, I am requesting contingency funds today.
Good luck.
Somebody has to. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So we have some more HVAC repairs that we're looking at. They're all for 400. So this is a request for the reallocation of $20,110.61 of county contingency funds to cover unanticipated HVAC replacement costs at 400 High Street. The first set of units, number 18 and number 40, they're located in the local management board and the IT offices. These were budgeted for replacement in the FY25 budget with an allocated amount of $27,015. And then after Johnson Controls took a better look and prepared final proposals, the final replacement cost ended up being $28,132. So it's a difference of $1,117. So we are requesting contingency funds to cover that shortfall. And then the second request for contingency funds is for a unit located in this very room. It's Unit 5. There are 2 units that take care of this room, Unit 5 and Unit 6. So Unit 5 is completely done, and then number 6 is aging and in poor condition. So we are looking for contingency funds to cover the cost of the replacement of Unit 5. And Johnson Controls has provided a proposal in the amount of $18,993.61. And as this expense was not anticipated or budgeted for in FY25, we're proposing that it be funded using county contingency funds. So the total amount requested would be $20,110.61. And if there aren't any further questions at this time, we would respectfully request the Commissioner's approval for the reallocation to address these critical HVAC replacements.
Where was Unit 5 on the schedule for, I know there's a schedule throughout the county of replacement.
It was pushed a couple of years, so it wouldn't have been until FY '27 or '28. So it wasn't on the list at all for this year for replacement, and neither was 6. I don't think they're on the list for next year either, but since 6 is on its last leg, we might push that up on the schedule as well.
Will we be able to, if we're pushing one up, I'm assuming we'll push one back? Is that the plan?
I'm requesting contingency to replace one of,
Right.
overall, yeah, we can move things around and reassess what would be the priority. But with a new unit in here, maybe we can hold off on 6 for a little bit longer.
One of us in here doesn't need heat at all anyhow. And the other 2, I'm sure, can make it with 1.
If you give me just a minute, I'm trying to get this thing to,
This is when the prayers come in handy.
I appreciate
I
appreciate
want to look at our contingency again, because at some point, Dan was here and presented a bunch of HVAC issues for the courthouse, for 400, for a lot of the county office buildings.
This is the 3rd time we've come for
And-
contingency funds specifically for HVAC issues.
We had made a motion and told him to, because he was going to schedule them over the next couple of years. And we, I think, told him that he should go ahead and move forward.
Yes.
Because we had the funding at that time to do it.
Yep, that
and go
was
ahead
back
and
in
repair them all.
That was back in September. That was for $78,194 of contingency.
Right, so there were two things approved. One was out of contingency, and that was for the detention center. The rest came out of fund balance, and the reason it was out of fund balance is because you didn't want to dip that hard into the contingency. So that was the 78,000.
And that,
So it's at the bottom of the
the
report.
big expense in that was the boiler for this building.
Right.
Which was
Okay,
just
so-
recently installed.
So the HVAC stuff that you're talking about now are in addition to what he presented back.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions, guys?
I'll entertain a motion. We have no more questions.
Let me get to it here. Do I look like a deer in the headlights right now? Okay. In light of this presentation, I'd like to make a motion to approve reallocation of $20,110.61 from the contingency fund to building maintenance, repairs and maintenance operating budget to fund the HVAC replacements at 400 High Street.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it. Okay.
Excellent. Our second item today is for permit compliance lab testing contract. This is a one-year renewal for the current contract with Lab Leasing Company, Inc., doing business as Chesapeake Labs for water quality testing services. The service to be performed under this contract, the services to be performed under this contract are all mandated by various state water and wastewater permits that the county currently operates under. Testing generally occurs on a monthly basis as various wastewater and water facilities, as well as Nicholson landfill. We have contracted Chesapeake Labs to complete this testing for a number of years, and the renewal of this contract is based on several key advantages they have over other firms, including strong quality control programs, close physical location that provides increased responsiveness, and consistency of lab testing equipment, personnel, and standards. This provides the highest level of precision when comparing year-over-year results. The proposed contract is a piggyback off of the firm's existing contract with the USDA, and total contract amount is $98,900, which is consistent with the funding budgeted for lab testing. So if there aren't any other questions at this time, Public Works respectfully requests the Commissioner's approval of this contract renewal.
For the folks at home, this is a budgeted item that is on budget.
Correct.
Correct.
That it matches, the $98,900 is budgeted.
If any other questions, comments, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract to perform water quality testing to meet permit compliance requirements.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it.
Excellent. Our final item today is water and wastewater chemical contracts. This item proposes the renewal of 2 annual contracts for water and wastewater chemical supplies. One renewal is proposed with Intercoastal Trading Incorporated, and the other is with George S. Coyne Chemical Company Incorporated. Both renewals have one-year terms. The county has extensive experience with both vendors and find both capable of completing the services detailed within the contract scopes. As the costs and availability of the chemicals can change throughout the year, 2 vendors are contracted for this service to provide a backup vendor when certain chemicals may be in short supply or unforeseen cost increases occur. And if there are not any questions at this time, Public Works respectfully requests the Commissioner's approval for this contract renewal, or these contract renewals.
Again, a budgeted item on
Correct.
target.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve renewal of the contracts with Intercoastal Trading Incorporated and George S. Coyne
Coyne.
Chemical Company Incorporated for water and wastewater chemical supplies.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Now, Shelley,
Thank you.
you got a
I
few
have a few-
items?
Yep, I do have a few items for you today. The first is a request from Dr. Coppersmith from Chesapeake College. This is a request to use their own fund balance, not a request for our fund balance. In this year, in FY '25 budget, there is currently $75,000 that is approved for an M&R Athletics Master Plan. Every 10 years, the college is required to do a comprehensive master plan. And due to the preliminary approval in the governor's budget of the Queen Anne's Technical Building, they would like to move up their master plan by a year, which would require an additional $167,550 from Chesapeake College's fund balance. If this is approved and the plan is completed, this will take that project through the completion. So even though the master plan would be moved up a year, it's not mandated to happen for another year. If it were started now, it would take that Queen Anne's Technical Building through completion and would benefit the project in the long run. So the bottom line is they need a total of $242,880 to complete this comprehensive master plan. $167,550 would be an additional approval from their fund balance.
And the balance would come from where?
The already budgeted $75,000
Okay.
for the athletics
I got you.
master plan. Mhm.
Any questions, comments?
It's a lot of money, but
Then I'll entertain a motion.
In light of the fact that Dr. Coppersmith is requesting this, and it's coming from their fund balance
Correct.
at the college, and they're asking for our approval as, I guess, board members that represent the
correct.
5 counties.
At least 3 of the 5 would have to approve this to move forward, although it's my understanding that all 5, I believe all 5 are in favor of approving this.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the use of the college's fund balance not to exceed $167,550 for a facilities planning consultant contract for Chesapeake College.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, next up, we have been discussing for probably about 18 months now, the possibility of a new Mid-Shore Regional Detention Center, which would include Kent, Caroline, and Queen Anne's counties. The county attorney, Commissioner Price, and I have been heavily involved with the negotiation of this agreement. And as it stands, I believe it's safe to say that on behalf of the 3 of us, we all recommend approval of the terms and conditions as outlined in the draft agreement.
And by us actually signing this is going to give that Queen Anne's the ability to hopefully secure funding for this project.
Correct.
A delay of this would jeopardize that.
Well, I got one question. We're talking about, we've been talking about 2 things. The shuttering of what we've got and getting rid of and moving our prisoners from here to Kent and Queen Anne's, keeping our staff on the payroll because we have to man this thing on a smaller scale. So we're basically getting out of the detention center business for the time being. And if that works properly, and of course, there's these MOUs and stuff that we don't have yet.
Correct.
But assuming that works perfectly, because it's gonna have to, because we're gonna have to use it, that Tri-County is 3 years or 4 years down the road. So whatever we're doing has got to work properly. And my question is, if it works properly, then why would we go 10 or 15 million dollars in debt and take on a percentage of a Tri-County jail? Why wouldn't we just continue to shutter forever and save all that money? If this is to revolve around saving money, the shuttering, if we can do it and we're just paying other detention centers to keep our prisoners, and we're going to do that for an extended length of time, and if it works, then why would we jump in and get back into the detention center business at a pretty good investment?
To answer that, I would say it's risk.
It's
Because
what?
it would be, the answer to that question would be risk. It would be less risky for us to assume part ownership of a new facility and have an actual facility that we know where our incarcerated individuals are going to go, as opposed to being, assuming we partially shutter for the next 3.5 years.
But then you're telling me that if, by shuttering it, we're taking a risk for 3.5 years.
We are dependent on other counties, which.
Because
Correct.
I don't know what the price per person would cost us. I used $70 because I've heard that kicked around, and I don't know whether that's what they would do it for or not. But if we shut ours down, are we saying, okay, are we giving them the ability to come back a year later and say, look, we want 100?
Well, it's part of it is
we're-
their ability to take the
Correct.
inmates, that.
And we are renegotiating, all the counties are renegotiating
Because it's
their
quite
rates right now.
it's gonna be quite a period, and listen,
Right.
don't misunderstand anything I'm saying. We're in this business to try to save some money.
Right,
If I can see it.
Right.
I'm all in.
yeah.
But we're the shuttering part for 3.5 years, that's a long time if things
Right.
don't work out just right. And if our idea is to really cut down on expenses of what it costs for the detention center, then I have to question why we would jump in, right back in.
Yeah, I think that,
And I
Right.
don't know the
Yeah.
answer to that.
yeah, I think you have to make your best prediction into the future that you can with the information you have. Over
Which, by
last-
the way, is very, very limited.
Right,
As we sit here today, we've been talking about, we don't even have we've been talking about these MOUs for 6 months,
right,
and we still don't have the answers to it.
right, and.
We have the answers, but
Well, I don't
But
know.
they haven't been revised yet. Let me try to explain, because we're going to be discussing this later in one of our closed sessions in a lot more detail, but because we're in the public forum right now, I want to reiterate some things real quick. Number one, since I've been sitting here, I have discovered that, or we have discovered that the overall budget for the detention center to operate is around $4.2 million a year. And we have been seeing routinely a decreasing incarcerated population at the detention center for quite some time now. And a lot of that has to do with the Justice Reinvestment Act or law that the state put on in place, where folks are being given a lot more opportunities after committing criminal acts and being handled differently and not necessarily incarcerated. So that's driven the numbers way down. I don't foresee that changing in the very near future, although it could. What we have been talking about in these meetings with our folks from Queen Anne's and from Caroline is, yes, they have a piece of property that the state gave them for $1 to build a regional detention center that will take care of Queen Anne's, Kent, and Caroline's incarcerated persons. As a result of that, they have to come up with an agreement of how this is going to run. And they've done that, and that has to be presented to the state in a timely fashion so that they can move forward with the funding that is needed to continue with the process. Our partial shuttering is something that, in my opinion, just like we just talked about here with the live scan machine. We have a live scan machine that our detention center had in their possession, in their inventory, that wasn't being utilized for anything. That's a $23,000 machine, if you were to buy it new, that maybe, who knows, the sheriff's office is going to be able to use, and he'll be able to save that $23,000 in his budget. When you do a partial shuttering, you're talking about moving somewhere between 28 and 35 inmates. I'm only talking about the local inmates, the ones that Kent County is responsible for. I'm not talking about the ones that we're holding for the U.S. Marshal's office. I'm not talking about ones that we're holding for other local counties.
No, I understand. We can tell them, we can turn them down.
Right.
We don't have to take them.
Right, and we would. So we would take the Kent County incarcerated individuals. We've already spoken with Sheriff Adams up in Cecil County. He has room for them. We've spoken with Lamont Cook from Queen Anne's County. He's willing to do it. Yes, we have MOUs that need to be revised and clearly indicate what the per diem is going to be for each one of those inmates that we're going to be contracting with for them to take care of them. The other thing is, as I heard you mention, $14 or $15 million to get involved with the regional facility. Whether we go regional or whether we decide to revamp our own, we're looking at that much money just to revamp what we have now, because it's been, and this is no discredit towards you as a former commissioner or current commissioner, but the detention center has not, that building out there has not been maintained. It's been Band-Aids put on it for years. And it's in bad shape. In my opinion, there's some liability there for the county, potentially. The detention center staff does a very good job trying to maintain things. Our maintenance staff does a good job, but the building's old and it hasn't been maintained. So the last estimate I heard, and it's been a while since I heard an estimate, I'm sure it's gone up a little bit now because it's been 2 years since I heard $14 million.
That was pre-pandemic,
Yeah,
so
so
I'm sure it's higher now.
it's going to be more than that now. In the meantime, because we have incarcerated individuals there at these low numbers, it doesn't make any difference whether you have 50 or 60 inmates, or only 25 or 28 or 30. Your medical responsibility is like $1 million. Regardless of how many inmates you have, the medical is going to cost, or is costing the county $1 million. The food service, the more inmates you have, the cheaper the food is. The less inmates you have, the more expensive it is. So there's a cost savings of at least $1 million with the medical, and there's going to be another cost savings, in my opinion, and I'm not an expert, but common sense tells me there's going to be at least $1 million saved there. There's going to be $500,000 probably saved in the food. And I would venture to say there's probably other areas that we're going to be able to save some dollars as well, while still maintaining our staff. We have a lot of staff that do a great job. We are committed to maintaining their positions, their salaries, their employment. But there's some staff that may decide that they want to maybe retire at this point. And maybe not. We're not going to force anybody to do that. But I mean, it would be an individual choice. So there might be some savings there, there might not be. But to me, even with a per diem, and I didn't figure $70. I figured $110 per inmate. If you have 35 inmates at $110, you're gonna save a lot of money.
Well, the vast majority of the cost of the detention center is in staff.
Correct.
That's probably,
$1.8 million.
or more. With benefits and stuff, it's even more than that. Now, the food service, I think, costs us about $250,000 a year.
I don't remember offhand.
And I don't know where I was going, but I guess my problem is, does this, if we sign this agreement, that locks us into this project?
What this is it is our intention to move forward with the application. What this allows us to do is to move forward with the application to the state for 50% funding of the facility. By signing it, we are showing our intent to move forward with this project.
It sets up how this would be governed, where there's going to be a board and what the percentage of the votes are, and basically if this gets built, how it's going to be run and how it's going to be managed.
Right.
So
Now, I don't know whether I got it right or not, but I got like $2.8 million in salaries and benefits
With salaries and benefits, that's probably about right.
out of the $4 million. And then it's $250,000 for the prisoner, for the food. Medical supplies, 70,000, and the medical service is 760,000. My only problem, if this doesn't bind us to fully say we're moving forward with this, I don't have a problem with it. But until we get hard numbers, look, I can think this and I can think that, but this is a big deal. It's a lot of money and it's a big deal. I just like to see the numbers somehow a little more affirmative. I mean, if we had, if just using $70 a day, that's $818,000 a year that we would be paying for somebody to house 32 prisoners.
But we
but-
would still.
And if it's gone up
That's-
to 110, then we're well over $1 million, $1.5 million.
That's with our intention to keep all the staff, because we would be doing a lot of transporting. We would have, if it's not our facility, we are transporting them to get them where they need to go. We are transporting them for medical, we are transporting them to go to the court, so we are transporting, Cecil County's not going to transport an incarcerated individual to our court.
Right.
No, I
They would
understand.
house
We're still
them, but we would need
responsible
me-
for all the transporting.
Right, and I think one of the concerns about, and I think the original question was, rather than going in with a regional detention center, would we want to permanently have an arrangement where we have contracts or memorandums of agreement with neighboring counties for those counties to house our inmates? And that may be more cost-effective. I think as Shelley said, there is risk involved in that because that's always subject to availability. And it's possible, we're seeing this on the federal level right
Or
now.
political climate. I mean, they
Correct,
can get mad
that
at us
there-
and say, we're not doing it anymore.
Or there could be a change, and we may see, and I'm not saying we are, but you're seeing in the federal government right now, there's more of a push towards law
Accountability.
enforcement and accountability. If that happens in the state, there would be more inmates, more incarcerated people. There may not be as much room. There may be more federal inmates that are willing to be housed at a higher rate. The federal government may be willing to pay Cecil County a higher rate than what we could pay. All these things come into play, and we wouldn't be able to reciprocate because we wouldn't have any place to take other jurisdictions' inmates. So
Well,
it would
as
be
part of this, as part of
would be
this,
risky.
this thought process, and we'll talk more about it when we get into closed session, when we talk with our leadership from the detention center and so forth, but there should be, number one, a public hearing at some point to inform the public of exactly why we're doing what we're doing and how we're going to do it. And there also needs to be conversations with both our circuit court and our district court judge. So they have a clear understanding of how incarcerated persons are going to be brought to their courts and so forth. But the key here is we don't just close the doors on the detention center. There's still going to be our employees, our COs, correctional
I
officers,
understand, I
are
agree.
going to be doing home detention duties,
Right.
transportation, pretrial release,
Right.
which is really what is going on now. And we still want to maintain that building. We don't want to just close the doors and let it deteriorate. We want to maintain the building with HVAC and everything else in case something falls through.
Right,
That
in
we
the
can
next
vamp back up.
and in the next 3.5 years, we can reasonably reopen. But if, let's say, it's 20 years from now, and we've just been shipping people somewhere, there's no way we're reopening the
Right.
doors on that
I
building.
think you
It-
can Band-Aid to get it to, within the next 3.5 years, we could probably Band-Aid that so we could house incarcerated inmates again.
If
But
necessary.
if we say our permanent plan is not to maintain a facility here, not to join in with the regional facility, and just to have arrangements with neighboring counties to house inmates, that could be problematic if neighboring counties no longer have the ability or the room or the desire to house our inmates. And so if that falls through, then the cost to us could be substantial down the road, having to basically start from scratch to build a new facility. So it seems.
And in the meantime, transport to Salisbury or somewhere else, whoever
Right.
is
So
willing to
now we're
take.
talking about, and look, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea
Right.
that I'm not in favor of doing this if there's some
Right.
some savings, because I am. I just don't want us to make a mistake.
Right.
My only well, to go back to what you were saying, now we're talking about the significant investment in building this new facility. We're gonna have a yearly amount of money that, for O&M every year. Plus now we're gonna have to spend some money on the one that we got because you said we wanna hold on to that. So
No.
does-
No, that's until the
Not if-
regional facility is
right.
built.
After 3.5 years, we don't need to hold on to that at all anymore.
Okay.
That's only necessary while we are shipping
we're
incarcerated
shuttering down.
inmates to
Right.
neighboring
Okay.
counties.
Okay.
Once we have the new facility will handle all the pretrial release, home detention, everything.
Transportation.
Correct.
Everything.
All of that.
And our employees will be there.
Right, and Queen Anne's County did a little analysis, and it's their belief that there are enough positions, the new facility will require enough positions that all the existing employees at both Kent County and Caroline would have employment in the new facility.
At their current rank.
Correct, correct.
Nobody's getting demoted.
No,
Benefits are the
that's
same.
all good.
Right, and I think what we were.
My only question is, what we're asking about this detention center agreement.
Right.
If I sign that, does that mean that's law now?
I think you're saying in good faith that you are intending to go
Because
forward.
isn't there still a question with Caroline?
That's what I was getting ready to say. I think
Huh?
that, Ronnie's brought up some good points.
Right.
And I also think that there are some questions with another county.
I'm just afraid to
And-
sign on the dotted line when there's a lot of questions that I haven't had answered.
Well, this agreement is with the three counties. So my opinion is this: if we sign this agreement, we're saying in good faith that we're in, that we
Yeah,
intend to
but
go
good
forward.
faith, so, I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I also know that the state has handed down some stuff to us in good faith and hasn't come through with it. So, to be quite honest.
I don't
with
know
you-
if I want to follow that example.
Well, I'm not saying that I want to follow that example, but I'm just throwing that
Yeah.
out there. That there's a lot of good faith in government.
Right.
That doesn't pan out.
Right, I would say
So-
this: if you sign this, you should be of the mindset that you're committed to the project. Now, this agreement as written involves three counties.
Three counties, correct.
So if Caroline County refuses to sign this, then this agreement can't go forward.
Right.
And there'd have to be another agreement done, perhaps just with
We go back to the
Queen Anne's
drawing
County or with other counties, but this.
And quite frankly, the design would change dramatically as well, because we would reduce
Absolutely.
the number of beds.
Correct.
So we'd be starting over.
So I think if you sign this agreement, you are saying you are in this project, but it's subject to Queen Anne's County and Caroline County also being in because it's a three-party agreement. Queen Anne's County is going to be in. There's no doubt that.
Queen Anne's is building regardless.
Right.
They're building a facility on
Right.
the site in Church Hill, the 80-acre site,
Right.
regardless.
Correct.
It's the number of beds that is determining how big the facility is as to
Correct.
how many counties are joining.
Correct.
And
If
if-
Caroline County says, we're not going to sign this, then there's no agreement because you need three people. So what would happen is if Caroline County refused to sign it, then we would need to negotiate with Queen Anne's to decide if we're going to do a two-county facility, which would be governed a little different because you'd have two counties rather than three. The size is going to be a little smaller.
And I think Queen Anne's is willing to do that with.
Yes.
Queen Anne's is
With us.
willing to do that.
The
However,
O&M would increase too, because we would probably have to pay a little larger share.
Right, you're going to have fixed costs that are going to be the same regardless of how big you build the facility.
so
They're
however,
not gonna be the same, they're gonna be.
No, if you got, whatever the O&M is for that
But they're
building,
fixed
you got
costs, right.
three counties paying it versus two counties paying
Right.
it. There's going to be somewhat of an increase for the
That's
two.
correct,
Instead of
because
three.
you have fixed costs, and are you splitting them three ways or two ways? Even if the building may be a little smaller, if you're splitting it two ways rather than three, the share for the two parties is probably going to be larger, or we would expect it to be larger than if it's split three ways. But again, my opinion is if you sign this, you are saying that you're in, that you're committed to the project.
and on the flip side, if we don't sign and we just want to ship our incarcerated individuals to Queen Anne's indefinitely, it would be a big question on the table whether they are willing to make their facility big enough to hold our incarcerated individuals. That would be a capital expense completely on their end, very risky for them, for fear that in 10 years, 5 years, 30 years, we decide to ship our IIs somewhere else. So I don't know, I can't speak for Queen Anne's, but a question for them would be whether they'd even be willing to build big enough to accept our IIs, this brand-new facility, if we're not coming forward with our share of the
The
capital.
most likely is they would, if we're not in, they would make an analysis based solely on their needs with
I would
projected
I would
additional
assume.
capacity they're going to need. And if that capacity is not being used, they would be willing to enter into an agreement with us to house our inmates. But if it turns out that they need that capacity, they would then be less inclined to accept our inmates or not accept them in the frequency that they would. So I think realistically, our choice is, do we go in with a regional detention center and that guarantees us that we are going to have a place to house our inmates? Or do we have a model where, assuming we're not going to invest in upgrading or rebuilding the facility we have for the long term, then we contract with other counties and take the risk associated with that in the long term, that the other counties would have the capacity to house our inmates, and they would be willing to do so at a price that's affordable and cost-effective for us.
I also think it's noteworthy, because we're talking about it, that the way this agreement is structured is Queen Anne's can never kick us out.
Right.
They can never put us on notice. We are forever a partner with them. We can pull
Well,
out
I
at
would
our
certainly hope
risk.
that was the case.
Yes.
Right. We can pull out with
I mean,
a
the fact that
certain,
we're going to help build it.
Right.
correct. They
ties
can,
us
they
in there.
cannot kick us out.
Right.
They cannot say, well, we need all of the beds now. Kent, sorry, you're
Right.
on your own.
But if we feel that we have a better alternative, we have to give notice to them, advance
A
notice.
couple-year notice.
Right.
But we could remove ourselves if for some reason it's not working for us or we want to go in a different direction.
Right. I mean, a lot of time and effort was put into this, and we believe we came up with an agreement that's fair to all parties, and that is an agreement that would suit our needs. So,
Look, if it was the fact that we were signing this to go ahead and build that new facility, knowing that we got some major repairs that are needed out here, that's a pretty simple agreement. I just think maybe the shuttering, and not knowing how long this thing is gonna go on, because nothing is built in the time that everybody predicts it's gonna be built. It's just a lot of questions for me
But-
that I was hoping that we would have better answers
You bring up a
before we
really
sign
good
on the
point.
dotted line.
So Commissioner Fithian, you bring up a really good point, because if we move forward with the partial shuttering, that is it's intertwined with this, but it is a separate action. All this agreement talks about, it doesn't talk about partially shuttering whatsoever. All it talks about is whether or not it is our intention to move forward with the regional detention center, which is scheduled to be open July 1st, 2028.
Right, so what we do with our inmates in the meantime, that's not governed by this.
Correct.
This
I-
simply says we're in to build with Queen Anne's County and Caroline County a regional detention center that's going to be managed by Queen Anne's County.
Right.
With
And the
oversight.
governing board.
Right, with oversight by governing board from all three counties. But the day-to-day operations would be by Queen Anne's.
Right. They follow their procurement, their
Right.
HR department would recruit.
Look,
they-
I think I certainly understand air involvement and how we'll work with a new facility. I mean, those, you can have an agreement there, it was just really clear cut. This is what it's gonna cost,
Right.
this is our share. Whatever percentage that we put into building it, that's gonna be our percentage of our operation and maintenance every year. Those kind of things are crystal clear, and that's what I need. But when we talk about the other parts and stuff, I just think there's a lot of unanswered questions that I don't have a lot of money to waste, but I'd probably bet you a pretty good amount of money that we won't be moving into a new facility by 2028.
We have to
That's
be
just a
prepared for
guesstimate.
delays.
Huh?
We have to be prepared for delays. We know
Right.
how
Right.
construction projects go.
Correct.
Absolutely.
More construction,
But-
sorry, but the more construction properties or projects of this scale.
I guess I would
Tend to
feel a lot
take a little
more
longer.
comfortable if this didn't completely bind me into doing something that I don't have a clear understanding of
And let's think
money
of it
yet.
this way. So if we were to sign this agreement today, and Caroline signs the agreement, and we go forward with the funding application to the state,
Right.
and the state says, we have no more money, we are not giving you a dime, you're not gonna get the 50% that has always been traditionally given to construction or remodels of detention centers. So you're on your own, three counties, peace out. Then we're back to the drawing board.
Right,
It doesn't bind us to enter in with Queen Anne's County if the conditions change.
And
Right,
as
there's
long as
no-
we're maintaining what we currently have, condition-wise, we've got a suitable backup plan, that
Right.
we can open that thing back up
right.
within a week,
Right.
easy.
Right.
But there's other parts, but assuming that the state has the funding available and Caroline County is in, and things move forward as expected, or as anticipated, or as intended, this commits us to the project. But as Shelley said, if the state of Maryland says we don't give the funding, it doesn't get built. At least it doesn't get built
We've
on this
covered
time.
that 4 times now.
We've covered about, and
But we haven't covered, answered Ronnie's question. I mean,
there's 5 or 6 big ifs out there that we don't have a question to. And
We've answered a
dealing
lot.
with government, dealing with the state, dealing with
There's a lot of
3
ifs.
counties, dealing with, there's a lot of ifs out there. And when you talk about the numbers that we're talking about, I'm just not that comfortable.
The sad thing
I'm not
is,
saying I'm not for it. I've told you 100 times, if I see where we're gonna save a substantial amount of money and keep our obligations to our employees, I'm in.
and reduce our liability. The sad thing is that this was talked about years ago, and because of politics, it went away. And it wasn't politics at the local level, it was at the state level. But to me, this is an opportunity that is going to eventually save, and look, I don't have the numbers, but if I look at it with common sense, there's no doubt in my mind that, yes, we're going to have some upfront costs, but we're going to have cost anyhow if we maintain what we got. Probably about the same amount of cost upfront. And then after we get the building built, because we're sharing resources with our neighboring counties, or at least one county for sure, maybe 2, those costs are going to go down
So right now, we're
We're not going to
competing.
be individually, you know,
That part makes perfect sense. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Well,
About the
to me,
regional jail.
do you
and
think that that's going to save us money?
With the regional jail?
Medical.
By sharing those operating costs?
I think
Food.
3 counties building a regional jail makes sense to me.
And the same
it
money.
will cut, and it will save us money.
That's my thought process.
And if that's what, and if it wasn't for the parts in between, I guess, I wouldn't have a problem. I'm willing to sign on the dotted line that we're a member of the Tri-County Jail. I think that makes perfect sense. 3 people sharing medical costs, 3 counties buying food, 3 counties, our employees got a place to go to work. That all makes sense to me. I don't know, I guess the part between now and when that thing opens.
You're worried about the shutter.
I think so.
I think we need to talk about them in 2 different conversations,
Which we
though,
will later.
Because,
Okay,
Right.
look,
yeah,
and
Right.
I can't, I just gotta say, and I'm for it. If it makes sense, I'm there. It's just gotta make sense to
Right.
me, because these aren't
Can I
little
speak?
numbers we're kicking around.
Their attorney, he was earning his money.
No, he's trying to make money. He keeps falling.
I'm just trying to give you good advice. I mean, it's an important
So I
question that
agree,
was
I
asked.
agree with Ronnie, and I
Talk to Steve by the hour.
appreciate those questions. But when this all started, being a layman at this stuff, okay, you know.
We're all
Well,
layman's in this stuff.
So, and we're talking about a big financial obligation for everybody in the county. I mean, and it's, so it's important to all of us to, like you said, get it right. We want to get it right. I mean, I think all 3 of us here, none of us want to make a mistake. But for me, it was about, you know, when they talked about the initial upfront cost at the existing facility, and then the numbers were staggering to me, how much it costs to operate a jail. And I'm sure that this jail is no more expensive than any other jail out there. I'm sure that I know that these guys that are there are doing a good job and being as fiscally responsible as they can be. And I also understand that the laws of scale, economies of scale, play a part in this jail down here. And I don't want to see, I mean, we've all said this, we don't want to see anybody lose their job. So, I mean, I really think that by signing this, it does lock us into being committed, but it's a separate issue about
I understand.
about that. And I
There's
think.
2
that-
issues
And
we're
I think,
talking
yeah,
about.
my notes, it has the exact same question as you. How much, where are the numbers? That's what I, you know, and hopefully we'll find that out today.
Well, if this deals with moving forward with the regional jail, then I've wasted a lot of people's times, because I will sign that. But
this is exclusively for the regional jail. They don't care what we're doing in the meantime.
Right.
I think it's between my problem is how we get to 2028 or 9 or
Right.
whenever this thing opens up.
Which is a different issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And I do feel obligated to say, we have circled around and around about the cost, about the employees, about sharing resources. But the one thing this new facility, and this is more for the public than the commissioners, because you're well aware, but the one thing that this new facility provides is ample recreation space, ample programming space for GEDs or classes, proper MAT facilities, which that's the medically assisted treatment, which none of our facilities have at this point, because it's a new law that went into place long after we constructed these facilities. So this facility will help us meet the demands and the needs in addition to the cost savings and retaining the employees and et cetera.
And there's other programs that, other mandates that the state has that we are not currently able to
Provide.
meet or provide.
And most of the
that
older
this new
facilities.
facility is going to ensure that are in place. I mean, it's going to be better for the incarcerated persons, and certainly going to be a lot less liability for our county in the long haul. And hopefully, It's not going to be an initial cost savings because we got the upfront cost. But over time, it should be a reduction in cost to our taxpayers.
But irregardless, we're going to have upfront costs in that already.
Or-
Either
And
way.
I believe.
That's a wash.
I
The way I
believe-
look at it,
I
that's a
didn't-
wash.
I didn't design this building, but from everything that I've seen and been told, I think that there were some design flaws when this thing was originally built with,
Hindsight.
right.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way it happened.
It's what, 40 years old, 50
Yeah,
years old?
it is,
Ronald? What do you
right.
think?
Probably is.
Mid-'80s, wasn't it? Mid to late 80s?
That's what I was
It
thinking.
probably was
You look at,
87?
85.
I can,
86? We have a resident expert in the house. He says 86.
But
86,
anyhow, it's going to be an upfront cost either way we go.
It's
tell
39
you,
years
Raleigh
old.
Miller, Alex Raisin, and they were in office when it happened, and Tuck Davison tore that old jail down.
overnight.
Yeah. And the newspaper said it was a dastardly deed, up in the headlines, because it was a historical, some people looked at it as a
He got the
historical building, the old jail.
He got the green light.
God rest Tuck Davidson,
Yeah.
but that probably wasn't the first accusation of a dastardly deed. Accusation,
Okay, we've taken enough time, let's move on to the next one.
Well-
Do we have to make a motion to sign
Yes,
this?
please.
Yes, you did.
And this is.
Especially in light of this conversation.
You okay with this?
Yes,
This point?
yeah, I'm good here.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to sign the Midshore Regional Detention Center Cooperative Services Agreement as drafted.
Second.
One question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, I got a motion, a second, and I'll make one. Now, this this will become null and void if Caroline County don't agree with it?
Absolutely.
That's
Right.
correct. That,
Because if all
So
parties don't
this
sign.
agreement is assuming that they become comfortable with it and move forward as
Correct.
well?
correct. All parties have to sign it.
Okay.
Right.
And
Got a motion and a
if-
second.
If Caroline doesn't, if they decide to go a different direction, Queen Anne's will probably come back with another
I hear you.
letter where it's just two of us.
Right.
I hear you.
That's my belief and understanding.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, the ayes have it.
You can move on.
And moving on.
Thank you very
Please-
much.
Please move on.
Appreciate that. So this is basically a public service announcement and a call for engagement to be involved. This is our annual transportation plan for FY '26. This is the draft plan that Delmarva Community Transit has put forward for FY '26. And this includes all of their funding recommendations for FY '26. This goes to the state after a public hearing is held. The public hearing is on February 12th, 2025. And the Kent County portion of this public hearing is from 2:15 to 3:15. If there are any interested parties that want to communicate about this draft plan with DCT, they need to contact Andrea Waters, at 410-221-1910, or she can be emailed at Andrea, ANDREA@DCSDCT.org on how to join the virtual hearing. This is a virtual hearing. This plan is available here at our office if anybody wants to see it. It can be emailed, or you can contact the Delmarva Community Transit dispatcher at 410-479-3867, or the Kent County dispatcher at 410-778-5187. I know I just listed a lot of phone numbers and email addresses. But if anybody is wants to see, has a desire to see the proposed FY26 annual transportation plan, they are more than welcome to simply call our office and we can provide a copy. And if they want to join the hearing, there's been a lot of interested parties in the past several years that want to attend the hearing, then contact Ms. Waters by email or phone, and we're happy to relay that information if they contact us as well. So again, the public hearing is on Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. Kent County's portion is 2:15 to 3:15.
That's fine.
No action.
I would
required.
like to make one recommendation.
Okay.
And he's reached out to us in the past and said if we had any questions, isn't Andy Hollis in charge of this now? I'd like to ask him if he would come to one of our meetings
Okay.
before the end of the budget. I mean, it can be any time.
Okay.
Just to talk about air transportation locally
Sure.
here in Kent
Sure,
County.
sure.
And
Yeah,
and talk with him about it.
He's generally really good about attending, so.
I think
yeah.
the world of Andy, and
Yeah.
he's very knowledgeable, and, but I'd like to just talk about air transportation.
Sure, absolutely. We'd be happy to
And
ensure
doesn't
he
have to
comes
be
in.
tomorrow or anytime soon,
Right.
whenever he's got time.
Okay, sounds good. And finally, we do have correspondence from the town of Millington's mayor, Kevin Hemstock. He is requesting for us to de-obligate money. Instead of obligate money, this is de-obligate money. This is money that is already currently in our FY25 budget for $7,500. This was to be for an evaluation of an existing tax ditch. The town of Millington is not going to get to it this year, so they just wanted to let us know we could take it out of the budget. It can go back into our general fund, and I have no idea if they plan on requesting this for next year or if they're going in a different direction or what. But
Gotcha.
upon a motion from you, you can accept the de-obligation of the FY25 funding of $7,500.
So this was requested a while back, and the money was allocated from our contingency funds.
No, it was just, it was in our budget. It wasn't even contingency.
If you look at the contingency report.
Oh, was it?
It's
Okay,
it's
well, good eye.
$7,500.
Good eye. Thank you. I thought it was in the budget
It's actually-
process.
It's actually the first one on the list.
Okay,
So I'm assuming that should go back to our contingency.
correct. This would go back to contingency.
That doesn't mean, Jim or Carrie, that it's available.
So at the request of the town of Millington, I would like to make a motion to de-obligate the $7,500 that was taken from contingency funds that had been allocated to Millington, intended to pay for an evaluation of the existing drainage ditch, and that the money go back into the contingency fund.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it. Very good.
Okay, and then I just simply have two report-out items. One is a mandated report of actual expenditures for police protection was submitted to the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention. This is a requirement that we do this. And as well, Economic and Tourism submitted a grant application, an ISHI grant application for a driving guide of the Kent County museums. That's all I have.
Okay.
I do want to mention real quick about the tourism department. They participated yesterday in a Canadian goose hunt here in the county, which was filmed, and Shallon, I don't know how well she participated or what her success rate was, but I know they had a lot of opportunities to film Canadian geese decoying to decoys, and
Wonderful.
they had a good morning. So that should be televised at some point, promoting our county.
Wonderful. Good to know.
Little Neck Farms. I got an email where they had sent a hold harmless agreement to the planning I guess it went to the planning office for their signature.
Correct. I believe it was just received yesterday.
I don't think I've seen it
You
yet.
haven't seen it yet. I'm meeting with Carla after this meeting, and we're going to discuss it, and then we'll get it to the county attorney.
And if you need me to come in and sign it, I think, well, if we look at the weather, I think they've got through the dangerous part where it could, the freezing could have done some damage to their pier. I think this is probably a
Hopefully.
mute subject now if it doesn't get bitter cold again, but I don't think it's gonna get to where it's gonna do any damage. But anyhow, I just got that email yesterday about this agreement. They were hesitant in having this, somebody in that development did not want them to sign a hold harmless because they were afraid if something did happen, the insurance company wouldn't pay for it or something.
Got
So
it.
finally, they got that worked out, I think, and they've sent it to us, and it's signed. So we would have to sign it, but you want to look it over, Tom.
So if that happens and everything's in order, do you need a motion or anything
Sure,
so
if you
that
wanna
we
get
don't,
ahead of that,
Yes, we were.
absolutely.
so that we don't delay till our next meeting?
You just say that you, subject to staff and attorney approval, that you approve and authorize the president to sign the hold harmless agreement.
So moved. That's all you have to say.
So moved.
Whatever time to say,
Say so moved.
So moved.
so moved.
Second. Motion and second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you.
You had too much lawyer stuff in that for me.
That's the beauty of so moved.
And one
Am
other
I getting
little
paid by
thing.
the word or by the hour?
As I think we're probably, I mean, Albert has pointed out some of it, but I had made some notes too about it. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm talking about all this stuff that's getting ready to come down to the states, and all it is they're in trouble and they gonna make us pay for it.
That's
It's
right.
about as clear as you can get.
I would agree
And
with
I've
that.
been through it before, back in, I don't want to get political, but back during the O'Malley era, when they took all of our highway money from us and never gave it back. This is going to be the same thing I think, on a bigger scale. And if I'm not mistaken, I've seen your notes, Shelley, where 1.3 million goes
That's our
to
mandate for
education
Kerwin.
for Kerwin. And I thought when we had the estimates, I thought we were getting one more year where it was gonna be like $400,000 our part. And now we're talking about $1.3 million.
All I can say is if you have faith in those projections that they put forward all those years ago, you're going to be disappointed. I don't trust them at all.
Well, I'm to the point where I'm not sure I trust anything coming from Annapolis. Right now especially, when they still got $50 million in to study the red line. If that thing ain't been studied enough, I don't know, I'd lose my mind. But
Well, how about all of the
then now the teacher's
trademark
pension, we
Atlantic?
gotta pay for more of that. I think Chesapeake College is gonna be asked to pony up more money for their pensions.
The retirement, right, well, that's the county's version, that's the county's share, 3,994. That is just county's share of the Chesapeake College, that's ordinarily paid for by the state.
And then the assessment office, instead of paying 50/50 with the state, now they want us to pay 90 and they're gonna pay 10.
Correct. Now, you have to keep in mind, that's the governor's proposed
I
budget.
understand, it's gotta
So-
be passed.
But the total of all of those is 300K to the county. So we are balancing the state's budget by contributing $300,000. I have heard scuttle in Annapolis that if the SDAT employees are being paid for by the county, 90% of, then why aren't they county employees? Give us all the control. I'm not saying that that's good. I'm not opining on that whatsoever, but why are we paying for something that is, and they're still state employees? It
Right.
doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
So all the counties are irate. I went to the legislative reception last week, and all of the counties around the room are talking about that chart.
I think I seen Montgomery counties is like $20 million, or Prince George is 27.
Montgomery is 27.5, 27.6. And that's in addition to Kerwin.
They want an electronic license.
So whatever we get in new revenues this year, 1.6 of it, bam.
Out of that 150 million, 27 million is Montgomery County, and I think
Yep.
19 million is
State tax, the
PG.
same people are paying.
Yeah.
I'm-
Almost 17 million.
Yep,
Carol, they're
that
overtaxed. People can't afford all these
19.5.
taxes.
Yeah, our neighbor,
Yeah.
Cecil County,
How's that
which, I mean,
affordable?
yes,
How's
it's
that
bigger than Kent
leveling
County, but
the
it's not a
playing
big
field?
county, is
How is that?
1.9
You would think
million.
that the people that make these changes, it would be no different than us getting in, acting crazy here and spending all kind of money and then give it to the town, so you pay for it.
Well, I think that it's noteworthy that the state's budget
Which
is
we're not-
going up.
We're not going to do, by the way.
Of course not.
The state budget is not being decreased to deal with this structural deficit. It is being increased.
That makes no sense.
That makes no, well, amen, I know. It makes no sense. And yet, 150 million is being pushed down on the counties. This is not going over well at the county level whatsoever.
And the current administration was left with a surplus, not a deficit, when they came into office.
But if you look at all the projects that are at least proposed, Trademark Atlantic Container Terminal, 30 million, Sunny Day Fund, Business Attraction and Closing, 25 million. I could go on and on. There's 187 million right there in
And
these
if I order a
discretionary
pizza, it's gonna
enhancements.
cost me another 75 cents for a delivery charge. That's one of the fees that's recommended.
As
Yeah.
proposed. Or
Yeah.
Amazon. How about Amazon? You want to buy earring backs for $2.50?
75.
Tack on 75 cents.
Yeah.
And when you get rid of your truck out here, and you go to buy a $70,000 new pickup, which is what they are now.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever they give you for your trade-in, you're gonna be taxed on that again,
And that's something.
because you're gonna pay tax on the full value of the vehicle.
Instead of reduced by the value of
It's
the
a double
trade-in.
tax.
Yeah, you're being taxed twice on the same money.
Right.
Well,
It's crazy.
And yet when they turn around and sell it, that used vehicle,
and these
they're going to
assessments.
tax it again.
These are new assessments that people, that's just a way for them to increase the taxes without increasing taxes.
Exactly right.
Because they just increase the assessment, and then if the tax rate stays the same, they've gained 20%.
Sounds like a wonderful place to invest to me.
Yeah.
And I will
Wrong.
add, that you just touched on constant yield. Those numbers have not come from the state yet. We will get those numbers. That is a calculation that they actually provide to us, usually by mid-February, I believe. And that will be a part, it might be a bigger conversation in the budget process than
I'm
it
sure
usually
it
is.
will.
But
Well,
we
the-
will have that information
The
soon.
other thing the state's proposed, the last time they raised the taxes, you had a number of people that were high earners move out, or they moved out for 6 months of the year, so Maryland wasn't their home
Yes,
state.
especially
Right.
retirees.
So
Lump
now,
them into the
there's a
category.
proposal that says you have to be a Maryland resident if you're here for 3 months out of the year, not 6 months. And they did that in anticipation because they know that the high-income earners are going to declare residency elsewhere, and they actually lost tax revenue last time they did this. So this 3 months out of the year, but I think that would just cause people just to have no ties with Maryland, just to completely leave the state. It seems like that there's no lessons learned from what's happened in the past.
I don't know
These failed
whatever-
policies just keep resurfacing,
I don't
and
know
they're like
whatever
on
happened
steroids
to
now.
living within your means, and look, I'm gonna applaud, we take a lot of flack sometimes, but Kent County's done that, and Kent County, why they're all, we've left ourselves in reasonably good financial shape, and sounds like to me it's a damn good thing, because now they're gonna take it away from us to solve their problem.
It's almost like you had very responsible behavior, but you're being penalized for that.
Oh, yeah, you just, anyhow, we could go on for the rest of the day.
Yeah, we could do
I
that.
just hope that the taxpayers and the citizens of Maryland are
Realize
paying
it,
close attention
yeah,
to what's going on at the state level.
I do as well.
It's people that live in the jurisdictions that elect the individuals that propose all these taxes and fees.
All right, we're to the public comment time.
We could keep going on
Yeah,
that.
we could do. Is anybody signed up for that?
You got it.
I don't know this guy. Mike.
Wonder what he's gonna talk about.
Probably just, you know, what we're talking about. Here you go, Sean.
You missed the last meeting.
Yeah.
John missed the last meeting. Commissioners, thank you. By the way, so when I called up the Department of Legislative Services about their fiscal analysis of Kerwin, remember I made in my presentation that it was going to cost, the difference between Kerwin and not Kerwin was $43.7 million for Kent County? Remember that little presentation? When I called up the Department of Legislative Services, because they're talking about it costing more money, I said, do you guys have any charts that you can disseminate on how much more it's going to cost? And they said, it's a constantly moving target, but we know it's going to cost 3 to 6 times more than what we estimated.
3 to 6 times.
The original FY '26 blueprint number was 20.3 million. Actual is 21.2. So
This
they
is
had
the Department of
projected,
Legislative Services. They said it's such a moving target. Now that we're implementing it, I forget the name of the guy that I spoke to. He says, but it's a constantly moving target, because now we're finding out just what it's going to cost to implement it, and all the counties are coming back. And so, yeah, there's no way we can tell you what it's going to cost. We're estimating it's going to be 3 to 6 times more than what we originally estimated. So my little $43.7 million is now $120 million. That's not what Pat's number is. You know, Pat took the difference year to year with Kerwin implemented, and that's where she got her $11 million. Well, if they're correct, that's $33 million.
Well, what I just asked Shelley, but we had a chart that we were going by, and I was convinced by that chart that we were going to get one more year where we
One
only
more
had to
year.
increase by $300,000 or $400,000.
Right.
Well, now it's $1.3 million.
Yep. And the retirement, teachers' retirement is being passed down for you.
On top
They're
of
just
that.
shifting everything down.
Yeah.
The
crazy.
reason why I wanted to talk to you guys this morning is I took a little different approach, because the last time I was here, January 7th, we talked about the assessment and how it impacts everybody's tax bill. And what I had done was I had Exhibit 3, not Exhibit A, where I showed that the assessment increase and what the impact was on the real estate tax for a fictitious home. This was a home that had assessed value of $350,000. And if you want to ask me where I got that number, I can come up with that. That particular home, at our current rate of $1.02, has a tax bill of $3,577. And I showed what we would have to adjust down our tax rate in order to have that number constant over the next 3 years. And moving from left to right, I showed what the assessment will increase by for that $350,000 assessed value real estate over the next 3 years. I put a little addendum here on the far right. Taking a look at it a different way, is there any, in your conceivable imagination, would you think of ever increasing the real estate tax rate here in Kent County by 7 cents approximately, 7 cents per year over the next 3 years?
In other words, 7 cents this year, 7 cents next year, 7 more cents the next year.
That's correct.
For a total of really 21 cents.
21
over
cents.
3 years.
Rather than
That's what the
increasing,
state's
we know
done.
that there's 2 parts to our tax bill, assessment and tax rate. You control the tax rate. Annapolis just causes Annapolis Circus. They control the assessment. But let's just say, for example, we didn't raise the assessment, but to reach the tax bill that we would be getting,
Yeah.
it's basically approximately 7 cent increase in the tax rate per year for the next 3 years to get the same tax bill. that is just unsustainable here in Kent County, and yet we're talking about all of the shifting down of costs down at a county level. So yeah, maybe you will need it, I don't know, but 7 cents
If
is
they
a
keep
lot of
handing
money.
stuff down to us, we're gonna need it.
Yeah,
Well, I have another piece of information here that's literally hot off the presses. Effective today at 5 PM, the Office of Management and Budget under the Trump administration has paused all federal grants, loans, and other financial assistance programs. This suspension could have far-reaching impacts on Maryland's counties, affecting critical positions, programs, infrastructure projects that rely heavily on federal funding. And why this is so important is it's going to affect the income tax revenues, because there are things that are not going to be funded. People are not going to be paid, and therefore we're not going to be collecting income tax. So that's just yet another factor that we don't really.
Well, one more thing, and I don't know, I should have asked somebody to look this up, but at one of the last Zoom meetings I was on, they were talking about, the state is now also coming up, there's a limit now to how much you can raise your property taxes at the
If
state.
you own that figure, it's your
homestead credit.
primary
Owner
home.
occupied.
Right, right. Well, they're talking about raising that ceiling, just so you know, to reiterate
Yep.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, and to compound that with what Mr. Yeager just said, let's say people move out of the state because of the tax implications. Well, now they're not entitled to claim that homestead credit because their primary residence is not that house here in Kent
As-
County or Queens
as Al
County.
brought up January 7th, if I can't afford it and I have to move into Delaware, okay, but somebody's going to buy my house. Somebody is going to pay this. The problem is that there's no expansion within the state from a corporate tax standpoint. No corporations are going to move in here. You saw my letter to Governor Moore. The whole thing is a shift, and they have raised the budget. It went from $63 billion last year to $67 billion this year. The state budget increased by $4 billion. And he is balancing it, but it's still on the back of taxpayers. I don't care how you cut it.
He's handed it down to the locals where we're gonna have to do
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that you guys look bad, not him when he's gonna run for president. 7 cents. Now, you brought it up the last meeting. How much is 1 cent equivalent to? My number is
About
350,000.
300,000.
It's more than, it's like 350,000. If you divide our revenue, this year, projected revenue is 35,448,000, blah, 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 blah. Basically 35 million, and our tax rate is 1.022 cents, or divide 1 into 35 million. It's $350,000 for 1 cent, round numbers, of revenue for every cent you're gonna get. So if you've got a $1.3 million additional, that's 4 cents.
Well, I'll tell you about as far as the tax increases in the county's history. I've been here 27 years. The largest tax increase that we ever made, 1 year, we had to raise taxes, our tax rate by 5 cents. That was the year that the state took all of our county, and let me tell you something. It used to be, before that, county roads had their own separate budget, all of county roads. It wasn't part of the general fund at all. They had their own separate fund because it was driven by that, what we got as far, the tax rate, the tax on gasoline. That's what, the gas tax money. That thing used to pay for all the equipment, all the salaries, all of whatever else they needed. Plus, at times, we carried a couple $100,000 fund balance. And they took all that away to little old Kent County. That was $2.5 million. I can't imagine what the big counties. But we did, so that was the same year that we even reduced all the county's employees' salaries by 2 cents. It took some drastic cuts. You don't hear about that much. But we made sure we did just what the state failed to do, which the state, when they took that gas tax, they said, oh, but as soon as we get straight, you're going to get it back. Well, we got about 10 or 15% of it back. What we told the employees, when they lost their 2% salaries that year so that we could balance the budget, we kept our promise and we made sure they got it back plus a raise when we got straight. It's just mind-boggling what's
20,
ready to
21,
happen.
you're exactly, it's 21 cents over the next 3 years is what we're going to be paying more if you were to raise the tax rate versus the assessment. So, you bring up county employees. How are the county employees going to be able to afford having their tax bill increased by 21%?
Well, they can't do that.
How is that?
Why?
We have a 13% poverty rate. How are those people going to do that? How many people do we have in Kent County that are living paycheck to paycheck? I don't know about you, but when I go into Acme and Redner's and I see people calculating, how much they're spending, I gave John an example of a situation that I ran into when I was at Redner's, where there was an elderly couple, I say elderly, same age as my wife and I. He put in 3 credit cards and he couldn't pay his grocery bill. What is wrong?
He might have had my credit card by mistake or something.
Mike, I think where we're at with this, you have done a great job presenting the numbers and bringing this to light. And we've talked about it an awful lot with you. And we appreciate what you've done and pointed out and so forth. Our problem right now is we need to see our numbers from Pat.
Oh, yeah.
We need to see that first. I don't like the fact that Kent County is the highest real estate tax on the shore, local tax. I don't like that. I don't think it's good for our citizens. I don't think it's good for economic development, business, or whatever. And the way I'm looking at this is, once I see what Pat brings to us, last year, if I remember correctly, we only had $1.6 million of new money. And we have requests for, I think it was 3 or 4 million.
It was a lot more than
Maybe it was 7
whatever we
million.
got.
Anyhow, we had all these requests, and we had to go through it, cut.
Yeah, I remember.
So I guess the bottom line is I would love nothing better than to reduce, if in fact we can, the local tax rate. But I don't want to put us in a position where, because what I saw yesterday with that $300,000 being shoved down to the county from the state for teachers' pensions, and look, I'm not against all that, but, the state's pushing that down on us, and then we have the blueprint new numbers before any other requests come in from our school system of 1.3.
I'm surprised that the counties haven't gotten together and put a class action lawsuit against the state
Well,
on all of this. I mean, it's surprising to me that no one from a collective, from MACO, has not decided to take some reverse action and say, wait a minute, you just can't do this. All you're doing is passing the buck. The taxpayer is still going to be hit with this, whether it comes from the state or it comes from the county. The taxpayer is still going to have to foot the bill here. We don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. Why don't you cut back on all your unfunded mandates?
the state has, in reality, has raised real estate taxes because of their assessments.
Yeah.
And now they're pushing, right now, $1.6 million that we know of coming our way, that is also going to be on the backs of taxpayers.
And
So I guess what I was trying to point out, Mike, is that we don't currently have the numbers
I know.
available, but we will soon,
We will soon.
to be able to really reasonably look at what you're suggesting.
I'm trying to provide data
Oh, and you are.
from my business career. The more information I had, the better decision I could make. When I have to put together a business plan, a 1, 3, 5 year business plan, I have to have all of the information that I can get, not from analysis to paralysis where you can't make a decision, but the more information you have and the more information you can see, and you can see the numbers, you start checking off the boxes, which you were talking about, the detention center. You want to see those numbers in order to make an intelligent decision. That's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to come at this a lot of different ways to see the impact to Kent County residents. They know about the assessment because Hershey did it in his update. Hershey talked about it at one of the caucuses. So they know about the fact that the assessment, I don't want to say is a ploy by the administration, but it seems awful funny that it should come now, that we should have 3 years' worth of assessments equaling 21% increase in assessments right now when the state is in deep caca in their budget.
Oh, sure.
You know, what a coincidence that is.
And that's Kent County's number, 21%.
Yeah, 20.8.
37.
Somerset County, 30.7%. I can only imagine what their conversations are like. You know, Worcester, Wycomico, there's a lot of people hurting here. And yet, over in the Big Six, you know, they're really not that quite high. Yeah. The whole thing stinks. And
Well,
it,
As John pointed out, we thank you. I mean, you dive into this thing and you're preaching to the choir right now. And
Yeah.
it's not a pretty picture. And when we get Pat's numbers, I bet it's only going to get worse. That'd be my guess, because we gotta, you know, we know that we can't probably even fund what's mandated to us already with what, if all that stuff goes through.
Yeah, I know.
So it's going to be a long struggle between now and July, but thank you very much. And
Yes,
we
sir.
got one more closed session here. we
yeah,
gotta do.
I apologize, but. yeah.
No apologies needed.
And by the way, on the detention center, the big checkoff box is the state gonna come up with the money? Their side, their portion of it. That's a big box. It's a
And we
really
don't
big
know what
box.
that number is till we
Right.
get a real proposal, because these are guesses of what it's going to cost.
We got the middle
think-
school, we got the detention
We
center,
think-
there's a lot of
they-
stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
So, if there's no other questions, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion that we go into closed session.
Wait a minute, do we have any other?
No, it's been quite a meeting.
Oh, okay.
At the start, I was just happy that I didn't have to testify about the old wars and myself.
Yeah. John, you had us a little bit worried. I've been here 27 years. I've never pushed this button for security,
Yeah.
but when you come up here, I was getting ready to shove, I was getting ready to hit the button.
And Shelley,
We thought you were upset with us about something.
you want to understand the president's deal on he's going to affect free school lunches. He's taking food out of children's mouths.
I literally just got another update saying that NACO, the National Association of Counties, is gonna have a webinar or some sort of virtual call tomorrow, so hopefully we'll learn a little more.
Yeah, I just got that too. It just came in.
Yeah.
Okay, John, you got it.
So I'd like to make a motion that we go into closed session under the Annotated Code of Maryland General Provisions, Article 3-305B, 1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals, and to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice and to discuss public security if the public body determines the public discussion would constitute a risk to the public or the public's security, including the deployment of fire, police services and staff, the development and implementation of emergency plans. The first topic that we intend to discuss are qualifications and abilities to staff or manage the daily operations of a safety facility and the legal opinion of the county attorney concerning specific options. And we are closing the meeting to discuss the topic because the qualifications and details of staff would be shielded for privacy, and legal advice from the county attorney is private to the public, and specific details should be shielded.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it.
May I suggest a recess for 5 minutes?
That suits